Welcome to another edition of the Boots to Suits podcast with CJ and Gate. And today, Corey, we got a phenomenal guest. We have Jay Salters from Act Now Education. Um, he is a rock star doing great things for the military service members and making sure they're good to go as they transition into the civilian sector. And I'm excited about this episode.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Feel like I'm gonna get a lot out of this episode today. So, welcome, Jay. Where you at right now?
I'm currently stationed in the Middle East right now, in Bahrain,
Oh,
doing a tour out here.
okay. So you living pretty well. I did 7 years out in Bahrain myself during my active duty time, so I get it. So welcome. So it's equally as hot over there as it is here, probably. But right now we're in Hawaii. Weather's nice, and I'm glad to spend this day this morning with you. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. We just had
Yeah,
that
same
around
for you too.
that
Hold on, we're
day.
gonna have to get that beat to run back, and that was sick, but no.
Yeah, we was grooving too. We had to stop before it came on, but it's all good.
We made that special from you. You know, we know you from New York, so we wanted to make sure we had the right beat.
This guy,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta hear the New York cracks all the time. It's all good. I know he wish he was from there, but it's all good. Thank you so much for coming today, Jay. One of my
For sure.
first things I like to ask my guests on the show is, how do you manage being active duty military officer, and running your business?
That's a great question. It's a process of improvement, like this whole time, right? So for me, prioritizing what it is that I'm doing, what my focus is, and being able to identify that. Now there are like obviously 15 to 20 different things that I want to get done in a day, and there's just not enough time in a day to get it done. And so what I typically do is just focus on the heavy hitting items, and then anything I could put to the next day, I do so. But I keep a track of what I'm doing, what needs to get done, and the time frame it needs to get done. I think one of my strengths, or one of the things that I'm definitely working more on, is relying on other folks within my community, within my team, to kind of help support and knock out some of those items that I won't be able to touch. But really, it's just it's a balancing act. And if someone ever says, it, you can balance it perfectly, I don't know. It's a difficult process, right? I think it's just ebb and flows. You work with what you got, you try to do what you can, and then whatever you can't do that day, you just push off to the next.
Well, that's great. What you're doing for service members is just it's outstanding. The fact that you hold that training near dear to your heart, and you want to give that out and help other service members, and I applaud you for that. I was also looking at your bio and seeing that you joined September 11th, 2002,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Being from New York. Now I was already in at the time, a little older. I happened to be in Virginia when that fateful day happened in 2001. But I mean that had to have been something that really affected you. And then a year later you joined the military right after what happened in New York, and a year before. Did was there something about it that made you want to come in and fight for your country?
No, absolutely. So, yeah, there's those moments that you like are forever embedded in your memory. I remember going to school. I was at school late that day, and I was there when I was going into the bodega. For those who don't know, bodega is just a corner store, but most of the people from New York, we all
Yeah.
call them bodega because that's what it means in Spanish. But yeah, I was going into bodega and I saw a building get hit, and to me, I thought that was just another country or something else that was going on in the world. Didn't even know it was happening. A few blocks away from where I was. I live in Manhattan, so I'm from Manhattan, and my school was, I think, on at the time 104th or 103rd Street on the east side, and so less than 60 blocks away that went down. Um, and so, well, a little bit more. So when that happened, um, I went to school and they shut the school down. Obviously, they shut the whole borough down, um, and I didn't know what to think of it. A lot of people were just in shock, and I think I was in shock as well. And then I remember like the days following that, right? They were talking about the rubble. They were talking about what folks were going down there and volunteering and helping and supporting. And some people lost their lives after that as well because of some of the things that were happening. Um, and I remember feeling like, man, why didn't I go down there and help? Why didn't I go down there and volunteer? Like, I'm an able body. I should have go down there and help. And so um, I was like, this is something that I could, it's something I have to be able to do. It's something I can do. What can I do? And then, I was like, well, join the military and serve my country and support and fight as best as I can. And so that's how it kind of all like linked up.
That says a lot about you, brother. I will tell you that because I was already in, so I didn't have a choice. But I have sailors that work for me. When they joined around that time, they knew what they were signing up for. It's different when you come in and just like, oh, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna get my GI Bill. You just go ahead and join the military. But when you coming in during the time like we was about to go full on war, and you decided to volunteer your time and sign up and come in, I again commend you more on that also, and the fact that you was able to do everything you've done and promote and be enlisted to office. I mean, all these things you've done. Meanwhile, you're still giving back, still running a business. I applaud you, brother, for real.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. It's a service, right? Servitude, like this is a way of serving people, way of serving my state, way of serving my country, way of serving my service members, and supporting the overall greater good.
yeah, and that's that was the whole purpose behind the show. We got so many service members doing great things, and stretching themselves, not only for themselves, for their family, friends, and the community. So, and that was kind of the origin of even putting this podcast together. And I remember, Jay, when you and I even went back and had a conversation about this, and you like, you one of the things I remember you saying, and he said to me, it was like, it's your duty to do that, to connect the dots and put us in a network together where we all talking and we're communicating and helping each other, because it's about the ones after us when we leave this organization to put them on a better path. So for that, I want to give you totally up front. I want to give you your Booster Suits medal of greatness for doing everything you're doing, because it's people like you we need in our society. So I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Just like it's being able to support the community and leave that legacy, right? And so that people can get the information, the knowledge, the resources, and just bringing awareness to folks. I mean, I know like when I first joined, there were few and far between opportunities and things of that nature. I mean, podcast wasn't, I don't think podcast was a thing when I first joined, or at least I didn't know about them. And now that, information is more prevalent, being able to be a trusted source to be able to provide that information, provide, people that are making headways within the military community. Because a lot of times you feel like you're very limited in what you can do, but you can see what other folks are doing. And you're like, if they can do it, I can definitely follow suit. And what you guys are doing is definitely leading the way in that regard.
Well, I appreciate it. So you know what? We just started. It's one of the biggest things CJ and I we all get caught up in, special active duty and people that's from New York. He get on that tangent, start conversation like it's been talking forever. But when someone first meets you, how do and being that you're still active duty, how do you introduce yourself and what you do? And because I know it can be a little bit difficult being active duty and a business owner. So how
Yeah, I usually run down people on education. It don't take me too much to get the conversation started. If you're in the elevator with me and you might be just focusing on what your day is, and I'm going to ask you, hey man, what you got going on as far as education? How's this career treating you? What are the things? What are your goals? And people, a lot of times they get caught off guard, but I've had plenty of conversations, and a lot of people in the group will probably attest to this, where people just walk past me, and that's the first thing I start talking about. Like, hey, because it's those seeds, right? If someone's not considering something, like essentially for me, I was enlisted, then I switched over to becoming a commissioned officer. Somebody did that. Somebody helped me say, I'm good enough. I have the skill sets and ability to ascend to that level. And so for me, it is something as simple as a conversation. I remember I was and for those who have been in Bahrain, there's a swarmer truck out here on base. Everyone likes the swarmer truck. And so there's a line of folks. And there's been multiple times I'm on a swimmer truck, we're just waiting in line for my meal, and I'll see a young sailor or airman or marine, and I'm like, "Hey man, when you put in your package?" And they're like, "What package?" "Your officer package." And they're
Remember?
like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I was like, "Oh, you don't like money?" And then we get into that conversation, right? And so yeah, that's really how I usually do it, because it's just being able to connect with folks and let them know that there's more to aspire to, and then definitely supporting whatever their goals are. Some people I have talked to, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm transitioning out the military." I was like, "All right, well, what's your game plan? What's your goals? What do you want to do? Where you want to be at?" And then I'll sit down and talk to them about that stuff as well. So yeah, mostly, like I says, is that conversation happens. I guess that's New York for me. I just run up on people. "Hey man, what's going on? Uh, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your goals."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what so let's touch that a little bit. So for those service members that's looking to separate or retire, what are some of the unknowns that they need to know about transitioning from the military to the civilian sector or the contracting world, or what have you? What are some of the unknowns?
I would say some keys are mindset. Transition is a mindset. You're always going to transition. If you've been depending on how long you've been in the military, excuse me, there is a lot of things that we get into I would say like force of habit, right? We're used to things being a certain way. We're used to getting orders. We're used to being able to work with less and maneuver around and work with the team, right? And then when you're transitioning out of your civilian career or transitioning out the military, you're focused on what you're supposed to be doing for yourself. And sometimes that's hard to do, right? That's hard to take yourself out of the organizational mindset and focus on, okay, these are the things I need to do, and these are the steps I need to do, and no one's really going to help me get there. They might provide me the information, but they're like, I have to make sure I do this. So what I tell people is typically the first thing is talk to somebody that's already been where you want to go, or that is currently there, right? So you can be able to bridge the gap. If you don't know how to do that, and you don't have anybody that you can talk to, there's a couple of programs that provide those free resources. ACP, American Corporate Partners, connects you with Fortune 500 companies, and some of these mentors are senior leaders. Like my mentor from there was the director of Target. Another mentor that I recommend, another mentor for another seller that I recommend, that he was getting out within 3 months and didn't really have a plan. He ended up getting the CEO of Northrop Grumman as his mentor. And so organizations like that will connect you with people that you necessarily wouldn't meet in your day to day, and that can help you transition, right? Because they'll give you the tools to help you understand what's required for your transition to make it a little easier, to make it a little bit more seamless. And the other thing I would say is Veterati. Veterati is a great program as well, where you connect with coaches from different industries, and you can touch base with them and ask them like the day in the life of what's some things I can look out for. And those things help you smoothen that process of transition. Like I said, a lot of people, when they get to that, we think, well, first of all, we're realizing that our career is transitioning to civilian sector, and there's a lot of anxiety with that. There's a lot of worry with that. There's a lot of uncertainty with that, right? And the biggest thing with that is the more data points you have, the better more you'll feel about your transition. Now, everybody's transition is different, so it's not going to be like the transition is going to be the same as the next. But the more information you have, the better decisions you can make, and the more comfortable you'll feel about which direction you want to go. And that's why I typically tell people, make sure that you're connecting with a mentor. Make sure you have a network. Your network is your net worth. It's better to have a network and not need one than to need a network and not have one. And so jumping on LinkedIn, reaching out to people early, touching base with folks, you got to do all that stuff ahead of time before you transition. And then when you get to that point to where it's time for you to transition, you have these different individuals you can touch base with that can help walk you or guide you through that process. Don't do it alone. No one does it alone. Don't do it alone.
So which service? I mean, you provide numerous services, education services. Which one do you find service members gravitating to the most?
I think there's a couple of different things that we do. So our overall focus at Act Now Education is looking at, we're the resource for the resources, right? There are over 40,000 different resources out there, and not a lot of people are aware of them, right? And they can be very impactful for you, your family, help you upscale, rescale, pivot, get into a new career field. And so what we try to do is review and look at these organizations and put the information out. So if they're in our Facebook group, you'll see all of the free resources, all the free certifications, all the free opportunities that's out there for people to take advantage of and jump on it. And then a lot of what I tell people to do as far as like the information, the resources, and how to utilize these certifications, these trainings to get into job opportunities. A lot of people have gotten job opportunities based off of that. And so we don't just, I mean, it's not just like all talk, it's definitely action. And that's why Act Now is the way it is. We want you to act on what we're providing now so that you can utilize that to help you and your family and for the betterment of your life. And so when we're telling people to do these things and looking at it, it's allowing people to kind of understand that direction and get that path right. And so if they're using the Facebook group, if they're using another program that we have is a Coursera, where we offer the 7,000 courses on Coursera, and they have about 27 certificates, and that's including the Google project management, the Google IT support. IBM has a bunch of courses, and some of those courses actually worth college credits, and you get them for free through our organization. And so a lot of people gravitate towards that. A lot of people do gravitate towards the group because they see a lot of good information in there. And then some of the other programs that we announce every so often when we get them, like we did the master's degree for master's in management and the master's in financial planning, which is about $18,000 scholarship for 200 people that applied for it out of our group, and they got the scholarship. And it was not connected to TA or anything. It was just something that they could apply for. So military spouses, veterans, active duty, everyone jumped on that opportunity, and they're going through that program now with American College.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I wonder when did you actually Act Now? When was it established?
In 2008, it was established in 2008. It was it came out of a need. So basically, I was considering transitioning out of the military, and I was trying to figure out, my left and right limits. I'm a few years away from my 10-year mark, and for those who are early in the military knows like that weighs over your head. Okay, my 10-year mark is I'm about to hit that whether I stay or go, right? So because if you're gonna stay, then you're riding it out to 20, right, or past that. And if you're gonna go, then you want to do so before that point in time. And so for me, I just realized, I didn't have any of the skill sets. I mean, I've learned my job and I knew my job and I had security clearance, but I didn't have, certifications. I didn't have my degree. So if I compared myself to my civilian counterpart, my bachelor's degree, I mean, my background in having a clearance could probably get me into the door, but I didn't want to chance that. I wanted to make sure that I was selected because I was the best qualified candidate for any job opportunity. So I was like, let me focus on knocking out my degree. Let me focus on knocking out certification. So I went from not having any certs to knocking out about like 16 to 17 certs within a year and a half, all through the Navy Cool program. And some of these certs were like, essentially, they weren't really difficult to do, but essentially it just allowed me to add more to what I bring to the table as far as my job and my role. And so that kind of helped me. And then I was like, there's probably not a lot of people that know about these resources. So let me just share that. And I did a presentation to share that information. And yeah, it was horrible. I'm not a public speaker, so it didn't go so well. I still remember it was in the Kenya, it was in the tunnel. We had about 40 people showed up, and like I said, death by PowerPoint. And
Right.
thankfully, I had a senior leader there, a mentor that was he saw the whole thing, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna do that again." And I was like, "Nah, senior, you saw what happened. That's not happening." And he's like, "Oh, you thought this was a request? No, you're gonna do that again." And he was dead serious, and he was like, "You're gonna do it again and then again." And so I did. And you know, aside from like just me learning how to speak and how to convey points and information, and kind of like uh, I had to kind of summarize some of the information I was talking about. It made it a lot better over time. And then, yeah, I got the Spirit of Bob Hope Award for helping so many people at my command earn their degrees, earn certifications, and knock out college courses. So it was very humbling opportunity, and I'm thankful that I had those individuals around me to kind of push me forward and be like, hey, yeah, I know how you felt about that, but you're still going to do it, and you're going to stick to this, and because it's something that the community needs. And so those who were closer to the exit was able to get that information, and I realized that this is something that's a gap. There's many organizations out there that say they support the military community, and hats off to them. But I feel that a lot of it is cutting some red tape. Like they're not able to touch base with the community in the sense from these are the things that's needed. These are the things that people are asking about. These are the questions that people are thinking about. And from my own perspective, I was like, I just want to build an organization that helps folks as best as possible. And so that's why we were able to create that and build that.
Yeah, and that's awesome because you think about it. A lot of times, service members don't know what they don't know when they step out. And they think sometimes the grass is not always green on the other side when they're in the service, and then they say I'm going in the civilian sector, but they go in there unknowingly, don't have that playbook or blueprint, and it end up, they're like, man, maybe that wasn't the best idea. So having that, what you put together and a resource for them is like mentorship on Facebook and connections and resources that they can have actual coaches and mentors like yourself. So it's amazing what we're able to provide to them. So
Absolutely.
Wow. Because that was my segue. You already answered it, but I wanted to know what was the spark that made you want to keep this moving and start a business with it. So you already answered that question.
Oh yeah, so the business whole thing, it was a passion project for the longest time. I would say it was a passion project until 2 years ago.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it was never meant to be a business, nor did I consider it like I just considered it just something that I was going to give back to the community, and this is the vehicle that which I was going to provide that. This is how I was going to give my support to my service members, my fellow peers, and then I want to say um, it was a point that was like, now either I'm going to continue doing this consistently, or I'm just going to, just do something different. And I was like, no, let me see what happens if I stay consistent and I stay on it. And so I started doing that. And then it kind of strangely happened. I was helping a few people, and this is when I was back, like, I want to say about 3 years ago, 2 years ago. This is when I was, so not too far, not too long ago. Um, when I was touching base with folks, I would provide them with a list of resources when I do one-on-ones. And a couple of those folks reached out and said, JJ, I'm very much interested in learning more about what you're doing and how I can help. And before I knew it, I had a team of folks that was just passionate about helping the community. And then a lot of those folks was like, how can we make this bigger and better? Um, and we did. And so like it turned into what it is now. I want to say about maybe 3 years ago, we had only like 3,000 people in the group.
mm-hmm.
Like everything that well, probably no less than that, probably about 3,000. Now we have 50,000. Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that we've been able to do is relatively recent. We actually filed for a nonprofit back in 2021, and so yeah, we've technically about to hit our first year as a nonprofit, right? And so it's all new. Now, being in business and learning about business is something that I've been doing since 2015, and that's another mentor that's put that seed in my head, and it's turned into what it is now. But that's the key for me, was having the right people to be like, maybe you should consider these things, and then you ask yourself, well, why haven't I, and what would that look like, and then that changed the game for me.
Oh wow. So if a service member have already made their mind up to get out, to separate from the military, or coming close to retirement, what are some of the things you talk to them about, in deciding whether they want to go in a job sector or they want to start their own business? What are some of the things you talk to them about that to make that?
So what I would talk to them about is what are their end goals, right? And you don't necessarily have to just go down one lane, but you just got to figure out what it is that you want out of your career and what it is that you want out of your life. Some people, what determines success for you? What does that look like? Some people just may want to spend more time with their family, right? And so they may be able to negotiate how to figure out what works best for them. And so for me, um, typically we just have that conversation. What are some of your goals? What are some things that you want to achieve and accomplish? What's your first quarter, second quarter, third quarter goals? What are your next year goals, 5-year goals? And kind of talk from that. So short term to long term. And then identifying, okay, so if the ultimate goal is, getting into a job where they support their family and they're able to, maybe pay off their house and things of that nature, we talk about that. And if someone's like, I want to be my own boss, or I want to be my own, self-made person as far as like entrepreneurship, and I want to see what that life is like, then we get into the programs that's there, because there's a lot of resources on both sides. And that's the great thing about being in the military and even transitioning out of the military, because we have that. And you got to think about it. A lot of the things that we get, which sometimes we may take for granted or not just aware of it, the civilian sector does not have that, right? They don't have these programs, these opportunities with folks and organizations ready to support you and your endeavors and your goals, and helping you kind of bridge the gap, right? And so it's a definitely an awesome opportunity to take advantage of, very beneficial. So that's typically what I try to do, is like, depending on which way they want to go, I would tell anyone, like, learning business is important, right? Understanding the left and right limits of what you're doing is important. But I will also say, as far as when it comes to, looking at the job market, don't sell yourself short. Understand what it is that you want to get into and identify what opportunities are available.
Wow. Yeah, and that's one of those things where it just go back to the basis of really being taking the time and being clear on what your ideal life you're looking for, and just kind of setting those goals, and just taking believing in yourself to take that step. So, and that's huge. So, I appreciate that. And, it's for us, even look at it for this podcast and other entrepreneurs out here doing things that's still in the boots, as you say it. It takes a lot, and you have to reverse engineer from where you were looking to be, and you got to step out of the person you are today and be that person you're looking to be 5 years from now, and kind of work your way towards that goal. So, it's you hit it dead on. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you're also getting paid a paycheck, right? So like you got the opportunity, there's 24 hours in a day. If you're spending 8 hours that day working for, whatever service that you're in, the Navy, Army, Air Force, Space Force, Marine Corps, how many of those hours are you spending working on yourself, right? And so giving yourself back, 2 or 3 hours, focus on the business, focus on your craft, focus on learning a skill set, there's not too many things in the world that has not been done before, right? And the biggest thing is, where do you find that information? Either obviously in a book or learning it from someone. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you really want to go after any of your goals, your aspirations, there's opportunities out there. You just got to get yourself hands on those resources, and then, just let it go.
Man, if you haven't already done so, give this episode a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to the BootzToSuitzPodcast, please do so, because this is kind of information you'll get on every episode. And right now we're getting some heavy gems on how to be successful in life and in your career. So
Yeah, that's incredible. I wonder, where do you see yourself with Act Now, 10 years from now? What do you see? What do you?
And I'm going to call it right now, so everyone hold me accountable. So in 10 years from now, my camera just cut. Hold on one second. But
That's because it's gonna be big.
oh no, it's good. So it's in 10 years from now, I would like to say, as far as Act Now Education, we are the biggest organization supporting the military community in ways that are not touched in gaps, providing certifications opportunities, educational opportunities, job employment opportunities. And so that's what I foresee us doing in 10 years. And being a trusted resource to be able to rely on our organization to help get people where they need to be. And sometimes you just need the right direction, opposed from a resource, or knowing what resources are best for you. And so that's what I see 10 years from now. Ultimately, for me, I'm just going to deep dive into entrepreneurship. I enjoy it. I do business consulting, so I have a couple of other businesses as well, and I just enjoy, just learning, working with people, um, and being able to kind of give back in different ways. Like my other businesses right now, where I'm working with. It's called the Black Restaurant Acceleration Program, sponsored by Pepsi. And essentially, what I do is I coach restaurant businesses on scaling, right? And so this is all new. Do I own a restaurant? No, I do not. However, because of some of my past accolades and things I've done, Pepsi selected me to be able to do this. And this is my second year doing it, and I enjoy it. And we're about to do another one, the third year. So this is opportunities like that, right? I would never think that I'm doing anything like that. I've worked for Chase, worked for Pepsi, worked for different companies, doing different things, and it's mind blowing. And then being able to have those opportunities are unique.
Man, and that's amazing. Your resume is extensive. So, uh, with that, let me ask you another question. So, from the conversations you've had with some of these companies, um, and a lot of businesses are supportive of military separate transition and want to bring them onto the team. What what should a service member really need to tune in on as far as getting themselves being competitive, you know, in their resume aspect or qualification aspect to align with just being saying the name out, so showing they was a service member.
I would say start with the end in mind. So wherever role that you're trying to land or opportunity that you're trying to land, you need to touch base with someone's in that role. That way you can get the, true north on what it is trying to get into that community. You don't want to necessarily go down the path of knocking out a degree or getting a certification, and that doesn't help you any to get in that position. So you want to be able to touch base with someone that's doing it. And so, like, say if I was interested in becoming project management. Everyone says, "Hey, I want to do to knock out my PMP." A lot of people say that, right? A lot of people are not sure what opportunities out there. So I'm not my PMP. I want to be a project manager. Okay, well, you want to be a project manager in what? Because that's just really a subset. You get project management and consulting, project management and cloud computing. So you have to be able to figure out exactly the lanes that you want to touch on,
Mm-hmm.
and find those people or expertise or SMEs that's in those lanes and say, "Hey, what did it take to you to get there? What would you recommend me do? I have this much time left," right? And start drawing out that pathway, and that can help you bridge the gap and help you understand what directions or moves you need to make in order to make that attainable. So I would definitely say some of the key things that, if in general you just don't know what you want to do, some of the key things that you want to focus on that helps you is continue to develop your skill sets, learn as much as you possibly can. But there's three areas, right? You have certifications, which certifications overall across the board provide you with um, a level of knowledge that is tested. So obviously, it may not be required on the job, but it may be something that you need to get into the job opportunity, or going to college having different degrees, or the different programs, different majors that kind of help you understand the career field that you're getting into. And then apprenticeships, help you touch base with, actual doing the job or doing the work or being familiar with it. And so if you're not too sure taking either of those paths, or collectively, I would say try to take more than just one or two. See if you can do as many as you possibly can that aligns to the career that you want to go. So if you're trying to knock out certifications, knock out your certs, then get into knocking out your degree, and then try to take advantage of the skill bridge where you're doing like an internship or your apprenticeship, that you could touch base with the folks that are actually in the field, and that way you can kind of circle back on everything that you need to be successful in that role.
Wow, that's great.
I noticed you always you throughout this podcast you use the word mentor quite a lot. With all the accolades that you've attained, you still have a mentor. You still look for advice, and so I want people to
Oh, absolutely.
to harp in on that, right? We don't know everything, and I think that's something in the military we kind of we kind of get embedded in us anyway, right? You can't know everything because then you fail, and then add your hustling, you're coming from New York and being able to network. That's huge, in a time now where people are all about talking through electronics. That getting out there, networking, having these deals with Pepsi. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I know a guy that got a collab with Pepsi. That's a big deal to me, right? So that's the things that I want the listeners that's here to see. Like, this is every day. We serving in the military. We doing our job, and we're promoting, and we're doing good, and we're also able to do all of these other different things. It's so many times that you have sailors. Like, for me, I had sailors, soldiers, that might work for me, and they want to start a business, but they don't have time. I mean, do you really not have time, or do you trying to find an excuse, right? Because excuses
Yeah.
get you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
You make time for what you want. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's with anything. With anything. Well, you
Right.
go there, but
Yeah.
with
Hey,
anything you want, you're gonna work for, right? So
right.
Yeah.
don't start getting, oh, I don't want to do it now, because that means you really didn't have your heart into it. Anybody that got their heart into something's gonna prosper. Period.
Exactly.
It's just how it is.
So as we kind of wrap this up, Jay, what big projects do you have going on, and how can the people connect with you if they have questions, or they have already made up their decision to transition? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so yeah, you can definitely hit us up on Act Now Education. You'll find out a lot of great resources there. You can get in touch with me through my LinkedIn. It's Jay Salters on LinkedIn.com. So those are the best ways, right? So if you want to communicate with me, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn. It may take me a while because I'm always trying to figure out what's the next program that we want to launch or things that we're trying to get. And this would be a first, so I'm putting it out on here.
We get it
So
first.
we are about to launch. Yeah, we are about to launch this new program that offers. It's called a 3 cert program.
Mm.
We're going to be offering Scrum, PMP, and or Project Plus and Security Plus collectively together. So we're going to have a cohort that you're going to earn all 3 of those certifications. We're also going to help rewrite your resume or write a resume for you. Was this obviously we're not going to do all the work, but we're going to help you get your resume done. And then we're going to have a team look for an opportunity or job opportunity for you, and then connect you with mentors. And so that's all under a program that we'll be launching at the start of next year.
Oh wow.
And it's all free. You don't pay anything. It's all free. There's no charge. So you get the free boot camp, the vouchers, and everything else I just mentioned.
So when this pops up, how would people see that this is coming on board? They got to go to your
You
Instagram.
gotta be a part of the group. Yeah, you gotta be.
There you
Look,
go.
we're going.
You heard it here
That's
first.
There you go.
yeah.
Now,
So
now is this
definitely you'll
for
see it in the group. I'll probably put out some posts on it on LinkedIn and things of that nature, but I'm definitely going to mainly share it with the group, and then we'll probably share it outside after it. But yeah, you definitely have to be part of the Act Now community and take advantage of another resource, great resource and opportunity. And we really want to help people get
Is it safe
employed.
to assume this is going to be for a limited amount of people?
Yes, yes, because we only can run so many boot camps, like I said. So this is going to be a collective cohort of those 3 certs and then everything else that I mentioned. And so we're going to run a couple of those next year.
Okay.
Okay. Now, is that for the service members? What about the spouses and dependents? Are they?
It's for spouses, veterans, veteran spouses, transitioning service members. So it covers reservists, National Guard. So we cover it all.
That's awesome. Wow. Wow. So, hey, folks, look, if you didn't get anything, which I find it hard to believe that you didn't get anything out of this episode, this right here covers it all. So, definitely be join at Now Education on Facebook, on LinkedIn, reach out with Jay, and continue to plug in. And these are the kind of resources that's going to help you be successful in life and live that ideal life. So, if you haven't subscribed to the Boots to Suits podcast on YouTube, you can watch from there. Also, we're on all podcast platforms, so definitely follow us and subscribe to that, and just make sure you get that automatic download to the Boots to Suits podcast, because we have phenomenal guests on here like Jay all the time, every week, every Thursday. So definitely tap in. Sir, we appreciate everything.
Everything.
Is there any last words you want to share with our listeners and viewers as we get ready to close it out?
Yeah, I would say, look, one of the biggest things that I come across in either coaching businesses or coaching individuals or mentoring folks, even my own mentors, is yeah, I have seven. I have seven mentors. So just be clear. Like, I have people guiding me in my corner. Is there's a lot of self-doubt, that we put over ourselves right there. Like, I can't do it, or I'm not able to do it, or maybe I don't have the skill sets. Just do it. Everything that you see, everything that's been created, everything that's been designed or developed has been from an idea that somebody that actioned on it and did something about it. And so it makes no sense to kind of just hold yourself back, because those limiting beliefs don't get you anywhere. You just try to do something and you'll learn more from the process than it is if you like, I can't, never mind. So definitely, I would highly recommend just getting yourself started, whatever it is that you want to do. You don't want to be the same you don't want to be where you are now next year. So you want to be able to identify whatever opportunities, goals, things that you want to strive for, get it done. Connect with mentors, find mentors, build your network. If you don't have a network, connect with me. I'll be your network. That doesn't matter to me. I'll definitely make sure I'll share what I have for you. But that's really it. Try to do more, help out people, leave this world a better place than what you found it, right? Or any organization or business. And just apply yourself, man. We only got this one life to live. Live it up as best as we possibly can.
Any better than that?
That's it. All right, folks, tune in next time. And we're out of here. Thank you, BootzToSuits.
Appreciate you, Jay. Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. Thanks, gents.